What's up? What's up? What is up? We are live. Your boy, Harish, and of course, my guy, Tim Wayne. Tim, how you doing tonight, man?
Man, heavy hearted, but I'm here. We here.
Absolutely, man. Hey, thoughts and prayers to you and your family.
Yes.
Always wishing you guys the best. So let us
Yes,
know if you need anything on our end.
yes, sir.
Tonight, college football reaction show, playoff rankings. Pretty much know I think we know what's gonna happen, but hey, there could be some surprises. We don't really know what.
Right.
Waiting for this Michigan State Duke game to kind of wrap up, and it actually got kind of interesting here. Duke was up about 14, and now it's down to a 6-point game with about 5 minutes to go.
Yep.
Listen, we're just here to react to the college football playoff rankings. As you guys come in, please like, subscribe, comment, do all the things to help the algorithm. We would really appreciate it. Of course, as always, before we get started, we're brought to you by fanbattlesports.com.
Absolutely.
Shout out to those guys there at Fan Battle Sports, where you can get all your news, notes, and information about the AFC South, the Colts, the 3-5. They don't know how to play football Titans, the Jaguars, who are fraudulent, and the Texans, who are the surprise of the league. So, fanbattlesports.com. Appreciate those guys. Always dip in. And, yeah.
CJ Stroud for MVP. Dak Prescott for MVP.
All right. I don't know what that was, but yeah.
I know you don't want to hear that, but hey, man.
Hey, man. As a CJ Stroud stan, I'll power to him. Good job by the Texans. They finally made a good decision for their quarterback.
How do you feel that you made the wrong pick?
Oh, he didn't really have a choice to make a pick. He went before we wanted to, and we know we have the cheapest GM in the entire league, so there's no way we're going to trade up.
But the rumor was that y'all were potentially going to trade up to that number 2 pick. I remember that because you sent it to me.
Yeah, and then I woke up and was like, oh, wait, Chris Ballard's my GM. Never mind.
Oh, dang, bro.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's neither here nor there. FanBattleSports.com. Of course, follow us on Twitter at LHFanBattle. Listen, guys, we are one follower away, and I'm keeping track as we go here from hitting 300 or 200 followers here on Twitter, X, Twix, Snickers, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So one follower away. Once we get to 250, we will work on our first giveaway. So
right.
Please follow us on Twitter at LHFanBattle.
Yeah, dog. One follower away.
One follower away.
Again, and I can't stress this enough. The work that you do on Twitter it's immaculate. Again, you continuously saucing people up on the Twitter account. I talk trash, but I don't talk trash as nearly as much as you, and it is a sight to see. Other people.
Listen, I will take all the smoke.
I know you will. See, and that's the thing. Like I think that's a good dynamic between us. Like you can talk trash. Like I talk trash, but then I'm gonna let it go, because at the end of the day, like majority of the time, the only people that's really talking trash, they're like Texas fans, like Big 12, right? Maybe a couple of SEC schools here and there. Crazy enough, I was watching. When college, big noon, whatever they call
Big
themselves,
noon kickoff.
Big noon kickoff. Dude, I was watching their program on Saturday, and they were definitely throwing the horns down at Big Noon kickoff. Like,
weren't they at Penn State last week?
Exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm like, why are you throwing the horns down? You're repping Penn State. Like, what? Why are you?
I can't remember if it was the Penn State Michigan game or if it was the Colorado game. But
the Colorado game, they were throwing the horns down at the Colorado game.
No, I think this was last week. If you remember, there was a game where it was close and the team scored a touchdown, and the coach throws the horns up for 2, right? to go for 2. I was like, dang, rent free.
I
And
mean,
my wife was like,
but
don't even think about it.
but naturally, that is a thing.
Oh no, I know, I
Most
know.
coaches,
It was a
most
joke.
coaches go like that,
Yeah,
go like that. But I mean, it makes sense.
it was a joke.
It's
It was
universal.
funny.
But there was people throwing horns down at the Colorado game, and I remember
I'm
sending
sure
you a
they
text
were
message about that because I was like, dude, why are they throwing the horns down at a Colorado game?
because they were bored, man. Because
But
Texas lives rent free. Colorado's upset they will never get another shot at Texas. They'll
maybe
never get another shot.
maybe during the off season.
A shot in the
I
offseason.
mean,
What?
the off season, the out of conference. I'm sorry, not off season. Out of
Bro,
conference.
with 8 SEC games, Texas is scheduling Southwestern University State. I promise you. High school. That's who there's.
There's gonna be Rice every year.
No, it's gonna be like. Are there any FCS schools that people schedule anymore?
Tennessee, Chattanooga.
Who's that that
Citadel.
fake school? Who's that fake school that tried to get on the high school top 100?
Oh my God, that was.
You know, there's a documentary about them.
Yes, and I've heard it's wild. I've never watched it.
We need to go Sycamore. It's like Bishop Sycamore. That's who Texas is scheduling next year. Texas is going to schedule Bishop Sycamore. Hey, Bishop, if y'all need somebody, hit up Texas. They'll pay you $250,000.
Wait. Speaking of out of conference schedule, I know it's a little early to be talking about this, but next year's out of conference is at the Big House.
We are going to the Big House,
which can potentially be a number 1 team in the nation. Like
potentially.
What are your thoughts on that?
I'm just glad they got rid of the scouting department.
Yikes! No.
Ain't nobody scouting our games this year, bro. Now that we know Quinn might be coming back, ain't nobody scouting our games.
Oh man, come on, man.
But anyway, yeah. Give us a follow on YouTube, Longhorn Fan Battle. As we start to grow the channel there, we'd love to have you guys there. I'm actually just about to check. I think we've got 19 followers on. We've got 19 subscribers and growing. So please follow us. We are going. We just talking in pre-production. We're going to get back to a more consistent schedule. I know we've been doing like Thursdays. We've been meddling around with the daytime. I think we're just a nighttime crowd, man. I think that's just where our vibe is.
It's cool to do it during the day. I mean, I like it, but we get more interactions at night. We appreciate everybody that does watch the games, or the games that do watch the shows. And we appreciate those that are active in the chats and stuff. We have it's funny that you mentioned that because we do have quite a few Oklahoma fans that watch the show.
Our show?
Yeah, people we.
Oh, that's what's up.
Shout out to Marion. Shout out to Victor Ivory.
I forget Marion is an Oklahoma fan.
Oh, big time Oklahoma fan.
I forgot about him.
I don't know. I still don't know why. I'm like, Doug, you come over here. I'm like, Doug, you could have been a University of Houston fan. I've been cool with that. I'm cool with that. But you an Oklahoma fan? Like, how did you do that? You live in Houston. Like, how did you become an Oklahoma fan? Like, U of H is right there. It's got a beautiful campus, beautiful. And listen, U of H's got some talent. They got some talent coming out of there. They don't have an abundance of talent. Like, I wouldn't say they got like 5 stars and Pro Bowlers coming out every year, but they do have some ballers that come out of there every now. You know what I mean?
And now they're the Big 12. They're relevant again.
Right. I mean, yeah, they're relevant, but I would say in the last 10 years they've had, everybody's had their ebbs and flows, right? But Houston has definitely produced some talent there.
I think the biggest thing with Houston right now is Dana Holgerson's a psycho, and they've got to figure that out, man. That dude's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of any other news we want to talk about, you want to talk about Jimbo real quick?
Not really, because this is the Texas show. We don't focus on our little brothers on this show.
Oh man, come on.
Now I don't want to say that because we could be having a guest come on the show over the next month or so. He's a huge Aggie fan. My
Huge.
favorite Aggie. I will just say he's my favorite Aggie.
Yeah, yeah.
Really cool guy. So
Big time. Big time.
we're hoping we're getting that scheduled out. So hopefully we get him on soon. I don't want to spoil it for for those of you Longhorn fans that watch this show. So we'll hopefully have somebody on the show here pretty soon that I think will be awesome. And I'm also working with getting Steve back on the show.
Nice.
I've actually been DMing him from Fanatic Perspective.
Yeah, love Steve, man. Love his work.
Yep.
I was watching. Honestly, that's where I heard. Excuse me. The first real in-depth detail of Quinn Ewers possibly coming back.
So hopefully he's actually messaged me back, and I'm just needing to get some times from him where we can have him on. So that was a lot of fun when we had Steven on back when we first got started, like probably about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And where we are now. So hope to have him back on the show and hope to get a couple other guests. So we're doing some pretty big things here, and hopefully we continue to grow.
Absolutely.
Let me see where we are in this game, because we have talked entirely way too much, and I want to make sure we have time to work through this. Got 2 minutes in the game. Real quick, the big news story around the Texas universe today, and actually really yesterday, is
I would say but that was the story of college football outside of the old Jimbo getting fired.
Yeah.
This was the biggest piece of news coming out yesterday afternoon.
So the funny thing about this, and I was just kind of, and I kind of watch. Obviously, I watch Jeff and Chad, or Chad Hastings and Jeff catch them in the afternoon, just because that's when I wake up,
right?
And they just happen to be on,
right?
And Jeff just, I think it almost seemed like out of nowhere, probably just because of where I was at the time.
Right.
Jeff started talking about there's a possibility that Quinn Ewers is contemplating coming back.
Right.
And the first thing that went into my head, and obviously the first thing is, hey, let me let Tim know, because you're the first person I talk to when it comes to Texas news, right?
Right.
So I texted you, and I was like, okay, let's just say this happens. And I asked Jeff and Chad today, and they had some interesting answers, probably something I didn't think about. Before I tell you what their answers was, I'm kind of curious what you think. So Quinn Ewers obviously sustains the injury. He's out for 2 games. He came back last week. Actually played pretty well.
Yeah.
I thought he was still limited, right? He didn't have a great second half, but he was pretty good in the first half.
Right.
But nobody on the Texas team had a great second half. We'll talk. That's for our Thursday show. We'll talk about that on Thursday.
I got a whole soliloquy on that.
Yeah, and I actually have some Iowa State grub that just came out today that I want to get out there. We need to throw out there. So
okay,
that's for our Thursday show. But anyway, he kind of said, hey, it sounds like the Quinn camp, which for the most part has, since the injury started, the plan is still, hey, going pro, 3 years in college, see what happens, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like there were some rumblings that, hey, there's a chance that Quinn Ewers might come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Jeff and Chad today, I was like, hey, if this happens, right, let's just say hypothetically Quinn comes back. We're talking about, transfer portal lineups, all that stuff is being talked about, obviously, with what's going on up in A&M. Is there a certain somebody that could jump into the portal? But the real question here is there somebody that is currently on the roster that might go pro that could flip their decision to stay if Quinn Ewers decides to actually come back?
Xavier Worthy, hands down.
You think Xavier Worthy, first-round pick, right? He will be a first-round pick.
I think he'll be a first-round pick. I think he will be a later first-round draft pick. I don't think he will be a first. I don't think he will be a first-round draft pick, because just from being a fan, and me and you both are hardcore football fans in general, right? Not just college, but NFL. We were talking about the Colts earlier. It seems like, in just watching the NFL, and we don't have, I'm not going to stay on this too long, but just being a general fan and a casual fan could also see this as well. Clearly in the NFL right now, it seems like everybody who's anybody that has an NFL team needs some type of help on the offensive line, and there are
Fair.
a lot of offensive linemen coming out of college this year. So I could definitely see it being a more heavily like last year was defense, right? It was a
Yeah.
lot of defensive backs, a lot of defensive ends. Damn near all of Georgia got drafted. Um, so I feel like it's trending towards the offensive line because it's just so much like defenses are acting. I I don't know if you watched the game last night with again, I don't want to go too far into this, but the Bengals and the no
The Broncos and the
Denver and
Bills.
yeah, you that
It was
defense
an eyesore.
Denver's defensive line just ate up everybody on that Bills offensive line.
It
So
was an eyesore. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So real ugly games, college, and these guys coming out of college, these linemen that are coming out of college, they're like ready to start. Like a lot of these guys are ready to start like day one. So
Sure.
I definitely feel like it's going to be offensive line heavy. So with that being
Okay.
said, that was very long winded. Yeah, I could see Xavier coming back to possibly get a lottery spot.
Okay. So you think Xavier Worthy's the guy? If there, I'm not saying just pick one or two, right? But if you were
Xavier
thinking,
Worthy and AD Mitchell both coming back.
okay,
I can see them both coming back.
well, that gives us a very the name that Jeff and Chad threw out there was Jatavian Sanders.
I don't think Jatavian Sanders would leave just yet.
Jatavian Sanders was projected to leave after this year. He's
Leave
a 3-year starter. He's tutored right now as the second best tight end in the draft, which
outside of
isn't
Brock
far fetched.
Bowers.
Which isn't far fetched, right? And Brock Bowers is probably going like top 15.
Right.
And you know who else is going top 15? We'll talk about this on Thursday.
What's that? Oh yeah, he's honestly
Out.
the guy's played his way into a lottery pick.
The dude is the best defensive tackle in the
country.
In the country.
In the country.
Remember, I used to laugh 3 years ago when
you hated
Tom
him.
Herman
You
Tom
hated
Herman kept talking about Tavondre Sweat.
You hated him.
I hated the guy. No, I wouldn't say hate. I just got maybe I just got really tired of Tom Herman saying the name over and over.
He was the butt of a lot of your jokes.
He was.
He was the butt of a lot of your jokes. And
But
why don't you give the guy? And I remember the first game that they played against Oklahoma, and I was like, "This guy's having a hell of a game." You're like, "Yeah, I don't believe it." Like, I'm like, "Dog, did you see what he just did? He just second go, it's all right." Yeah.
But the butt of them jokes came because Tom Herman couldn't develop, a cocoon. So,
wow.
But anyway,
that was
Tom Herman. We know Tom Herman. We know the reason. Texas always had the talent under Tom Herman. Tom Herman was our version of Jimbo Fisher.
Oh no! He's nowhere near Jimbo Fisher. Nowhere.
No, I mean Jimbo's time at A&M versus Tom's time at Texas. From a standpoint, okay, forget the records. Forget the records. Whatever.
I would say Tom's time here at Texas was way more productive than Jimbo's time at A&M. Here's why: the amount of talent, right, that Tom got here versus the amount of talent that came to A&M and left A&M. It was like a mass exodus. Once the transfer portal was a thing, it was a mass exodus. It was people leaving left and right, decommits, all types of stuff. Like they would lose, and don't get me wrong, they had that 1 year where they had the number one recruiting class in the nation, and it looked crazy. It looked nuts. But they just
they just had another top 5 recruiting class.
They had a top 5, but they didn't have a number 1. Remember, I can't remember if Georgia jumped him late or
we're talking about A&M again.
Yeah, Georgia or Alabama jumped him late because they had a number at one point in time last year. For a good portion of the year, they had another number 1 recruiting class. So I would say that's negative on that. With about 30 seconds left here in this Duke versus Michigan State game, and it looks like Michigan State is going to lose back-to-back games for the first time in a long time.
I think Michigan State. Obviously it's way too early to talk about basketball recruiting. Michigan State was overrated from jump. But they had it. Didn't they get to the Elite Eight last year?
Yes.
No, they lost, or did they lose early?
They lost. You know what? They lost early.
They lost early. Okay, so that signs that they were overrated already. So,
oh man, a lot of people lost early last year. Did you forget we lost to Abilene Christian one year?
That wasn't last year. Don't put that on my team. That wasn't last year. You know where we were last year? We were in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, we were in the Elite Eight, and I think we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna make it back to the Elite Eight.
I think so too.
We keep grabbing these recruits, man. Every now and then, I'm just like, dang, Texas getting up. It's like, what you doing over there, coach?
Listen, Rodney Terry can coach. That's what it is. My guy Rodney can coach, and
yes,
he's. I don't know if he's going to win us the national title. I actually put up a poll on our account a couple of days ago. I think last week maybe.
Okay.
Will Texas football and Texas basketball win a national title in the next 3 to 5 years?
Can I throw a caveat in there because I think I voted on that. I wouldn't say I know this is a guy. I'm not gonna say basketball, but I definitely can see baseball winning.
Baseball definitely.
Have you seen what they're doing? They fucking stacking. You ever seen like I don't know? You remember MTV Cribs? You go over somebody's house, some football player's house, and they got like Ferraris packed up in the front. That's exactly what baseball is doing.
They just got another guy the other day.
Yeah,
I think it was a 4-star outfielder. I can't remember what.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baseball definitely is going to win another. They're going to win and they are hungry after the way last year ended.
Yeah, because the way that was bittersweet. That kind of sucked the way that went down. I'm very upset how that went down. I actually really enjoy watching the Texas baseball team. I know some people are not really big into college baseball. College baseball, the College World Series is really kind of underrated when it comes to sporting events. The College World Series and the tournaments are absolutely some of the greatest things to watch.
The College World Series is historic.
Yeah, it's really fun to watch the College World Series.
It's a historic event.
Yeah,
absolutely
it's definitely underrated.
So it looks like the game just wrapped up real quick, and again, so Quinn Ewers may be coming back. We'll obviously keep you guys updated as things start to break. But if Quinn Ewers comes back, listen. Real quick, and I'm not worried about Arch Manning at all.
Me neither. I don't know
if Arch Manning sits next week or next year, he'll be the backup because I think this impacts Malik more than it impacts Arch. I think Malik is gone if he comes back.
I mean,
he's gone in the portal this year. He's gone. I don't know where he's gonna go because I haven't really dug that deep into it. But I definitely think Malik will be gone. I think Arch is going to stay. He'll be the backup next year, and then he'll take over his junior year, right? And then you have KJ coming in the year after that, and you're stacking QBs on QBs. Stark is going to stack QBs.
Do you? I just off the top of your head, real quick, just give me a blind reaction. If you were Malik Murphy, and they gave you an opportunity to leave, or you have the opportunity to leave and go start anywhere in the country, where would you go?
If you had an opportunity to go anywhere in the country?
Right.
See, that's hard because it's like going anywhere in the country is one thing, but Malik needs to go to a place to where he'll play.
I'm pretty sure at this point in time,
Arizona State?
Arizona State could be a great choice.
Stay in the Big 12, right?
Right.
Can't go to Arizona. They got that stud. That dude's a baller.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you like 2 or 3 teams because I've been thinking about this. If I was Malik Murphy, where I would want to go, it's gonna sound crazy. These teams are gonna sound absolutely nuts. If I was Malik Murphy, where I would try to go, I'd try to go to Oregon.
Why? So Oregon has Ty Johnson.
I know Oregon has Ty Johnson, but Ty Johnson's not going to be there that much longer.
He's just a freshman. He's the backup to Bo Nix right
That
there.
is, you're right.
They just got a guy, and I
You're
think
right.
they just picked up another guy in recruiting. That's why it makes it so hard. Like
Yeah.
no big pro. I can't think of a big program right
So
now.
so scratch Oregon.
USC,
UCF with Gus Malzahn.
yeah.
I know
That
this
makes
sounds
sense.
crazy, but I mean, if they could get some recruits in there, Clemson, why not? Cade is not the answer. I'm sorry.
I don't know what's going on with Cade, man. That
Klubnik
guy
is not
terrible.
Cade Klubnik is not the answer. And if Washington and Penix, like, I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I know he's been, he's bounced around, but I believe this is his junior year, right?
Malik, yeah, he's a redshirt junior.
No, I'm talking about Penix.
Penix will be. Oh, Washington. That's a good shout.
Right.
I don't know if they have anybody in there. I don't. Yeah, no. That's Penix is definitely gone. Right. He'll be one of those top quarterbacks taken.
Right. And that's another reason why I think Quinn stays. Right, is because you do have some studs coming out. Like,
yeah, you do.
Or
well, this is the last COVID class.
Carolina, see what Mac Brown's talking about.
This is the last COVID class. So this one's stacked. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix. You've got some other guy. This is probably like an 8-9 deep quarterback class.
Now next year, if you think about next year, if Quinn does stay, it's really just him and Shador that are like. And listen, Shador has been on a really crappy defensive team, but he's balled out. Yes, has he played from behind a lot? Yeah, but he still is up there, one of the top passing teams, top passing QBs in the nation. He's had a couple of really strange turnovers, and I'm pretty sure he can limit that. Dion has already said that he's staying another year, so I think he could clean it up. And to me, those are the two top guys, right? To me.
So here's what we're looking at, right? And this isn't in any specific order. This is just who's eligible, who might go out. And this is a very weak class. Just looking at it, Cade Klubnik, Drew.
You're talking
Aller,
about next year?
Yeah, Drew Aller, who's terrible. Connor Wigman's good. I like Connor Wigman.
Yeah, no, Connor.
I know he goes to the school that nobody talks about, but I love Connor Wigman. I actually think he's really good. Nick Singleton. MJ Morris from NC State. I don't know who that is. So there's only 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so Quinn could be, right, let's just assume Shador is there. Quinn could be probably the best quarterback.
Well, Shador has no choice. He's got to go.
Right. So let's say Shador doesn't go this year. He goes next year, and Dion says he's not going this year. So he goes next year. We'll see what Dion does. Quinn would be quarterback number 1. So I think that's what makes things interesting. At the end of the day, Quinn's going to do what's best for him. He's not going to do what's best for. He's not going to do what's best.
And when I heard that news, like, I was kind of shocked and taken back. But then when I thought about, like, man, he doesn't have a full healthy season.
That's the other piece.
That's the thing.
I think that's the thing that his camp has talked about is he hasn't played a full season. He hasn't played a full season since his sophomore year in high school.
That's crazy. He had the ankle injury in high school.
Yep.
Then
he had a shoulder injury, didn't he?
He also had a shoulder injury. He goes to Ohio State, red shirts, leaves Ohio State, comes to Texas, starts shoulder injury. Boom, out. What was that? 3 games?
No, 2 games. It was in the Alabama game.
No, I'm saying how many games was he out? Like, no, you might have been out 4 or 5 games. After that, comes back, lights up Alabama again. Boom. And now we are in the college football playoff. They're talking about who's in, who's out. And we're gonna kick it over here and see exactly what's going on. Who do you have in your top 4?
For quarterback this year?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm talking not just top 20. Your top 4 playoff.
Nothing's changed. Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, and Georgia. Nothing's changed for me.
Okay.
I
For
don't have
me,
a particular order. It's the same.
I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna throw a little wrench in here. Okay. I got Michigan number 1. I got Ohio State number 2. Okay. I got Georgia 3, Florida State 4. So
I could see that because Ohio's. I mean, again, I didn't put it in any particular order. I put Michigan number 1 because Michigan just went into Penn State and dominated Penn State.
Yeah.
Bro, they played an entire basically 30 minutes of football without throwing the ball.
Right. They
And
ran
won by 3 touchdowns.
Well, I mean they won by 10 or 11, but who's counting?
Three touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, whatever. Basically, the end of the story is Penn State is overrated.
Florida State, Oklahoma climbs up 3 spots to 14.
Is it already up?
Yep.
Oh, sorry guys, I'm up here behind.
What are your thoughts on Penn State dropping to 2 spots to number 12?
They're just trying to keep them in it. So Penn State's number 12. Oregon State. See, the one thing I thought would happen, I thought Oregon State would jump into the top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Louisville, you know why they put Louisville there, right?
Yeah.
ACC championship game.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense. Louisville's there.
Dude, that showdown between Florida State and Florida State and Louisville is going to be nice.
I haven't watched Louisville this year. Missouri comes in at number 9.
What? Okay, well, okay.
Hold on. I think I'm a little bit behind you. Missouri comes in at number 9. That's what I have right now. That's interesting. They jumped up quite a bit. But again, when you have Penn State lose the way they do,
right.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
But do you think that Missouri should jump over Louisville?
I mean, they're in the SEC.
Do you think right now, do you think Louisville and Missouri, if they were to play, do you think Missouri beats Louisville?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I think their talk about really good quarterback play. Their quarterback's really good. That's a guy that I think will come in next year.
So is their wide receivers.
Bama State's at 8. Bama's the one that always creeps up to me that I'm always worried about because they just keep playing well. But again, it shows to me that the committee is valuing that win that Texas has over Bama exponentially.
So do you think Texas stays at 7?
Yeah, I think Texas stays at 7. There's no reason to move them up. Now we'll see. Do they move them up over Oregon? I don't know. That would be a shocker to me. Yeah, Texas stays at 7.
God.
So
here's my thing. The way that Alabama's playing right now, to me, you have to put Texas over Oregon. You have to. You have to, dude. Like if you would, okay, so we had this conversation last week. Okay, I get it. But the way that Oregon, like the way that Alabama just went into Ole Miss and just ran through them, like, I mean, come on, dog. They ran through them like a hot knife through butter, dog. Like that was a top 10 matchup last night.
Yeah.
Or last week. And it was a blowout. Like, I mean, the first quarter they held up, okay, whatever. But after that, that was a
talking about Alabama over Kentucky.
Oh, was my bad, Kentucky.
Yeah.
My bad, Kentucky.
That game was never close.
Yeah, you know, I would say the second quarter, I think late second quarter, Kentucky scores. It's 21 to 7, and then Alabama does something else. They score, then Kentucky scores again. So now we're 14-28. After that, you come out like Alabama just I mean, it was like
they ran all over the field.
Yeah, it was just
and they looked good doing it.
They looked really good, honestly, and I'm gonna say this. I know this sounds crazy. I still think right now, if you were to put them in, I think Bama gets Texas.
Yeah. So Oregon stays at 6. Oh, I think they do too. So right. Oregon's at 6. So it doesn't look like. I think maybe there might be some finagling in the top 4, but maybe not. We'll see. Washington stays at 5. Listen, if you're Texas, you need Florida State to lose. You need you need
I
one
think you
or
need Florida
two
State. I don't
undefeated.
think you need Washington to lose.
I think you need one or two of these undefeateds to lose, and I think you need Oregon to beat Washington in the Pac-12 championship game.
Right.
You need these undefeated teams to lose in their conference championship game or before that in order for Texas Texas needs to win out.
Because we all know that the recency bias is still going to be in effect. No matter who wins
Always
between
is.
Ohio State and Michigan, I still think both of those teams are getting in just because. I mean, you think okay, so
the loser of that game is out, and the reason why is strength of schedule at that point. Because I think if Ohio State beats Michigan, well, see that becomes tough because now Michigan has that big win over Penn State. Penn State winning was crucial. Now Michigan beats Ohio State, and Michigan stays at 3 as we speak. If Michigan beats Ohio State, then I think Ohio State's out. Because then you don't win your division.
Right.
Ohio State's only played one good team all year.
Right, and they struggled against a lot of other teams.
And they struggled all the way up. So they're kind of in the same boat as Texas. Hey, Texas, and now looking back on it, listen, if Texas doesn't lose to OU, Texas is probably the number 1 team in the nation right now.
Do you think? I know.
Like it hurts.
It just hurts that much.
It hurts, man.
It hurts that much more because, okay, so think of it like this, right? So Oklahoma comes in again a couple weeks prior to that Oklahoma game versus Texas. They struggled against Cincinnati. They struggle against.
Ohio State moved down to 2. Georgia moves up to 1. We have some movement, folks. Listen, you were correct, right? You said that there would be some movement in the top 4. I didn't think this would happen, but didn't Georgia wipe the floor with Ole Miss?
Yeah.
That game was bad.
That game was the blowout. My bad. I got confused with.
Is that Georgia the game we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
This makes a lot of sense. And Ohio State, I mean, they wiped the floor with somebody, nobody. Ohio State, once again, they beat Michigan State. Michigan State, bunch of scam artists. So, they had their own little scam this year. That doesn't mean anything. Listen, Ohio State just needs the game, dude. Next week is the game.
Next week is the game, but there's also some kind of games that kind of pillow out a lot of things, right? Oregon State could really do some damage if they pull off a W against Washington. That comes up. That's this week. Then Oregon plays.
This week.
Oregon plays them next week. So,
so I did this last week. Now that we know what it is, right? So just so everybody's on the same page, Georgia's number 1. Ohio State's number 2. Michigan's number 3, and Washington's number 4.
Right.
Or sorry, not Washington. Florida State's number 4.
Right.
Washington 5, Oregon 6, Texas 7. Right. Alabama 8. The top 8 is all I care about because that's where a lot of movement can happen. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. We're going to go through this week's matchups.
Okay.
And then what we're going to do, check something real quick. All right, we're good there. Just real quick, we're going to take a look at this. Because life. So this is this week's schedule. Today is the 14th. And
blow that thing.
If you're into MAC football, there's a lot of MAC football on right now. Right?
Got MAC action.
The MAC Tuesday. So Saturday you've got Michigan, Maryland. Alabama gets their cupcake this week. Oklahoma, BYU. Let's see. Texas obviously going to Iowa. I don't think we'll lose, but this game always makes me nervous.
Yeah, especially it's a night game and it's at Iowa State.
So Georgia goes to Neyland this weekend. That's going to be a big game. Did Tennessee lost to Georgia last year, right? Did they lose to Georgia last year?
Yeah.
Okay. So Georgia goes to Neyland, right? So that's huge. If Tennessee can do us some favors,
Please.
I'll call some favors into Knoxville, see if they got any in. 4 years I was there about 30 years ago. Maybe they'll remember me. So that's big. Oregon goes to Arizona State, 3 p.m. game. Big. This afternoon slate's starting to look really chunky.
Yep.
Oklahoma State we don't talk about because they don't know how to play football. Florida State plays a cupcake, so can't think about that. Washington at Oregon State. This is the game next week, right?
That's the game.
Where's game day this week?
Game day is actually going to be in Virginia for James Madison versus Appalachian State.
Right. Yeah, I saw that. Boo. This is the game of the week, and that's where they're going to go. But, and then of course Texas plays Iowa State. So, if for those of you guys that are keeping count and trying to root for other teams, need Oregon State to pull something off. DJ Ongalele. Let's see if he can play. Right? Yeah. And then you need the only other game that might be interesting as far as the top 8 goes is where is that game? Georgia, Tennessee.
Right. So, just to be fair, let's not just look at that game in particular as just like a walk off for Washington. Washington has they have not been playing good. The last couple of weeks, they have not been playing very well. They almost had a couple of weeks ago. They almost lost. Yeah. They almost lost the game, but they were able to pull a game out. Again, they were playing against Arizona State. Arizona State was giving them everything that they had, and they were still able to pull it out 15-7. I don't know what Penix was doing that game, but it was not that great.
Really, the last 3 weeks, Washington's kind of squeaked by, right? They squeaked by at Stanford.
Right.
They had a decent game for a little bit against USC. They ended up pulling out at the end. That Utah game, that game was great. That was a fun game. That was a great game. And I think this is going to be a little bit of that. Now, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Absolutely.
Oregon State can put up some points. I don't know how many points they average per game. And then, of course, the Apple Cup. Rivalries are always different. We know this firsthand. Rivalry games are always different. Yeah. So
it doesn't matter where you are.
You always got to keep your eyes out for this one. So that's Washington there. Oregon's got a tricky game next week. Georgia's schedule also all of a sudden looks very tricky, right? They go.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the problem with Georgia's schedule. Not only do they go to Tennessee next week, this is already in lock, right? So they play Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Right.
And they go to Georgia Tech. Again, rivalry game. You just don't know.
Games. Yep.
You just don't know. So this gets a little bit tricky for Georgia. And of course, you see that 52-17 blowout. This is why Georgia's number
1.
Right. And again, Georgia hasn't looked great all year. They've had some slip-ups. Neyland Stadium's going to be popping, and this is just one of those games where it's like if they have an opportunity to potentially put Georgia down, they're going to take that opportunity. So, very interesting game right there. But yeah, there you have it, guys. Your top 4 has been set for the week. You got Georgia number 1. You have Ohio State number 2. You have Michigan number 3, and you have Florida State number 4.
Right.
So Texas, you just got to keep winning. And again, the thing about Texas is, and I'm going to have a soliloquy on Thursday because I really want to talk about this.
Okay.
Texas fans, just keep winning. Don't worry about the score. Here's the thing. And last year, the games that we're winning this year are the games that we lost last year.
Right.
Get up big, blow the lead, lose the lead at the end of the game.
Right.
We're not losing those games this year, right?
Right.
We're getting up big. We're still blowing leads, which is not good. I completely understand that.
Right.
But the difference is they're winning those games. Sark is creating a culture of winning. This is when we talk about culture wins, when we talk about creating a culture, he is cultivating a culture of winning. For the first time this weekend, after the game, this is probably the first time I personally have heard of Sark talk about killer instinct and having that killer instinct.
Right.
Usually, a lot of it is, hey, we have to execute. We got to do this. And he called the team out on a lot of different things they didn't do well.
Right.
Hunter didn't pump well. Defense, the little for the curl route, the 8 yard curl route that ended up going for 40 yards there at the end of the game, right?
Right.
He's called out some things. He's called his team out and said, look, guys, we've got to put our foot on these guys' throats, and we're just not doing that right now. So
Right.
things get very interesting. Tim, any final thoughts before we head out?
My final thoughts. I would say, yes, Quinn is. For Texas fans again. I just want to say, listen, Quinn is not at 100%. The game was not going to be pretty last week, and it wasn't. We kind of knew it wasn't. Harish, I know you had Texas at the beginning of the season. You talked about if there was a game to slip up, this would be the game that they would slip up on. Um, I'm glad. I'm glad that they were able to again show some resilience for a second week in a row. Now, can we just, would we like for Texas to just go out and kind of play a complete game and dominate from start to finish? Absolutely, but they don't always. Things don't always work out that way. Again, Quinn was hurt. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see AD and Xavier to get more in the mix, especially on these scrambling plays. I like, most of the time we see Quinn like overthrowing Xavier Worthy.
Yep.
We've seen that a lot. I like that we're seeing Xavier and Quinn kind of meshing getting a little better. I know that sounds crazy because they've always had that connection, but it seems to be maturing like right before our eyes. I don't know if people are catching this, but one play stands out to me, and then I'll hand you over the reins. But last week, Quinn gets flushed out the pocket, uh, underthrows the ball to Xavier Worthy, but Xavier has the thought process to come back towards the ball. A couple of years ago, don't think that that's happening. That's usually a pick, usually some game changing play. I think that with them being back, getting back to normal and trying to get healthy with Quinn, and you can see the maturation of Xavier Worthy, the maturation between AD Mitchell and Quinn. We always knew Quinn and Jatavian Sanders. That's like Batman and Robin, if you ask me. Don't get me don't get me wrong. Xavier Worthy is probably the most talented in that wide receiving core, but it's just something with JT and Quinn has just always been on point. So I'm glad to see that they have gotten back to they're maturing. I'm liking that. And again, it's all about completing that game. So Texas fans, let's just win the games. Let's get them out. Let's get to the Big 12 championship. Let's handle business, and let's try to ride this out. And if we don't get to the college football playoff, that's another thing. But we'll just have to wait and see. Again, a lot of these teams have to play each other at the end of the year. So again, prior to them going in to this new basketball game with Kansas and Kentucky, they had Texas with a 37 or 39% chance of getting into the college football playoff if they went out. Now, what's even funnier is they had Alabama at 41. Well, they had Alabama at 41 because Alabama is basically going to play Georgia in the SEC championship. So that makes sense. So, we've seen more crazy things happen. Who knows? Tennessee Chattanooga might pull Appalachian State. We don't know. We hope, but to each his own. But yeah, just fans like Texas fans, just continue to root for this team, man. This team is really special. Me and Harish both have seen it. We were able to see them practice, and we were able to see earlier in the year that this was a special team prior to them, getting started with the regular season. So that's all I got, man. That's really all I got.
I'm gonna leave you guys with pray this weekend because going to Ames is always scary. If you get past this weekend, if there is a game that I'd like to see, this team play 100% beginning to end, it's next week at Tech. I want to kick the absolute shit out of Tech. But anyway,
I think that's going to happen. I
hope so.
I think that's.
I hope so.
I'm hoping they're not overlooking that game. I'm hoping they're not overlooking Iowa State.
They're not.
I know for a fact they're going to. I'm willing to put money on the fact, and I'm not a betting man like that. I'm
Yeah.
willing to bet Texas is going to roll Texas Tech.
I hope so. That'd be a great way to leave the
If
conference.
with Texas pulling this out, if they they get the win in Ames, in Iowa, and Iowa State, and they're able to pull this out and move on to the next game. Oh, Black Friday, they stream, they rolling. Tech, hey, bro. Remember, y'all in Texas Tech put themselves in this situation where they were talking big money, big talk, and that commissioner better have his ass in Austin. They better have his ass here next week. You better be here.
We'll see if Brett holds up to his word. I don't think he will. I think he's pretty ashamed of this.
You think he's gonna chicken out?
Yeah, I don't think he wants any part of being here next week. But anyway, that's us for the week. We will be back on Thursday. We got Quinn to talk about. We've got Iowa State to talk about. We've got a lot more coming. But in the meantime, in between time, my name's Harish. This is our boy Tim. We out of here.
Chill table.